Hey y'all, it's Jen from Wooden Word Blooms, and we're going to make one of these cute little mason jar ornaments. Yours can look like this or a little bit different. So first thing you're going to need to do is paint your jar. So you get to pick what color you want to paint your jar, what color you want to paint the rim, and you do not need to paint the top part. You can choose to paint the back and the sides, or you could just paint the front as well. So I did this one white and red, and then I also painted that little Merry and Bright. You can leave it as is or do a fun color. All right, so the next thing you're going to do, I like first to put my twine or ribbon or whatever you're hanging your ornament with, because once you add all the greenery, it's a little bit difficult. So I bend it in half, I pull it through, and then I take the two ends and pull it through the loop. And then I'm going to knot it again at the top. That way your ornament isn't hanging sort of sideways. It'd be really cute if you wanted to add even a wood bead or something to this as well. You could use ribbon, twine, you could use an ornament hook, really whatever you like. And you also could just leave that off and put a magnet on the back. So once you've got yours all painted and you're ready to go, we're going to add our greenery. So you've got a couple different kinds of pine, you've got your flowers, and whatever's in your kit, you can use it, you can not use it, you can add things from your home and get creative. And the flowers are ivory, but you could also paint them as well. So, oh, and your handy dandy glue gun, need that as well. So the first thing we're going to do is just trim the backs of our flowers. We want to make sure that we don't cut where the string is, and you don't want to cut right up against that or your flower will fall apart. But you do want to have a nice flat back on your flower if it doesn't already have one. So same thing on this. I'm actually going to even let you know that you could peel a couple petals off a rose if you wanted to make it a smaller flower, which we'll see how my arrangement turns out. I might do that later. You could glue your Merry and Bright on now or later. This is one where the glue gun is not your best friend. You might just want to use some regular Elmer's glue or wood glue, because the glue gun leaves lots of strings that are just harder to pick off. And so that's the last thing I'm going to add on later. So first you're going to have this little piece of pine. And if yours does not have a short stem, you're going to want to cut it. Otherwise, it's going to hang down. You could also, if you don't have any wire cutters in your house, you could bend that little piece of the stem also and glue it down so that you just don't see it. Once you're here, it's going to take a good bit of glue to hold this down, because there's a lot of greenery, a lot of those little pine needles, and you're going to want to use a big glob of glue, and then you're going to want to apply pressure and hold that down, and it's sort of going to be the base of our arrangement. So just speeding that up, go ahead and add that glue, hold it down, and once it's good to go, we're going to add our other greenery. So as you can see, I am going to pull apart the pieces. You could cut them with your scissors, you can just really give it a good pull and it will break apart. And what you want to do is kind of intermingle that at the bottom and then even in between the pieces of the other pine, and just giving it sort of that look of a nice greenery base. All right, so gluing those pieces down, just a little dab of glue on the end. I don't glue the entire piece. And then once you've got those down, save some other pieces, because once you add your flowers, you'll probably want to add some more. So just trimming that little string off the flower, and then I'm going to start this as my base. Now you could just use one flower for your mason jar. You could use two, you could use all three, add all the other little bits. It's really up to you. So I would work on the placement of your flowers first and decide what you want to do. I know for mine that I do want to start with that nice base flower there, but I do want to add some more pieces of greenery coming out from the side so it feels more incorporated. So here I'm just adding some more of that pine right along the side, and then I'll be able to figure out where I want to go with my other flowers. So just working on placement and what I would like to do. That has a little bit of the Mickey Mouse ears look, so now I'm second guessing it. I'm going to make this flower a little smaller by peeling off two of the outer petals, trimming that bottom a little bit, and I'll get rid of that string as well. And then seeing if I can sneak it in so it's a little bit closer, but it doesn't feel so gigantic. And I could sort of put it wherever I want to, so you just got to play around until you find that spot where you like it. Don't feel like things have to be perfectly symmetrical, just like they wouldn't necessarily be if you were to make a flower arrangement in real life either. And you've got lots of other things like berries and pine cones and other stuff that you can add in there. Now you're going to want to hold this one down because it's not on a stem and you're just gluing it to that greenery. So while I'm holding it and making sure that glue dries, I'm working on the placement of my other pieces. I'm keeping these all ivory. You could dye these flowers, so check out the flower dyeing video if you want to see how to color your flowers and add, an extra pizzazz. You can also color these little buds. These are easy. You can just take a little bit of paint, smidgen of water, and just sort of brush it right on. You could even use a Crayola marker or a Sharpie to color those as well. So as I've gotten my design in mind, I'm adding a second flower, which I also made a little bit smaller, and I am going to add those on one side and then balance the other side with some pine cones and some berries. So check it out. All right, so again, just adding some glue here. This doesn't need to be a ton of glue, but enough that it's going to hold to the greenery. And I'm balancing with the red berries because I've kept mine mostly ivory and added those little pine cones. And then the last piece is just adding on your Merry and Bright sign if you choose to add it. Again, wood glue for that or Elmer's glue is perfect, but you can also use your hot glue. Can't wait to see what yours look like. And here's a few examples from my class using 3 flowers, and you can also see an example here where we actually didn't really use any flowers. They just used the pine cones and berries, and then a cool example with just the 1 flower. So you can get creative.